Alright, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Schilling Beer Company, and they're out of Littleton, New Hampshire, and this is their 10th Anniversary Alexandr. So this is an unfiltered Czech-style Pilsner that is brewed with whole leaf sterling hops. It comes in at 5% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, and this can is approximately 3.5 weeks old. So Schilling decided to make a special 10th anniversary edition of their Alexandr, which is pretty much their flagship beer. It is the one they're most known for. It's actually the first beer that I reviewed on the channel a little over 3 years ago. That was when I first started getting into craft lagers, craft pilsners, things of that nature. My palate started to shift a little bit, and I really dug it. My can was just under 5 months old, and I still gave it a 4.15 out of 5. It was quite tasty. I think if I re-reviewed it now, probably get closer to a 4 or 5 because I've started to love Pilsners and Helles lagers and all kinds of craft lagers. Anyway, let me read from their Instagram a bit about this anniversary edition. It says, over the last 10 years, Alexandr has become synonymous with Schilling Beer Company. It holds a truly special place in our hearts and forms the centerpiece of our portfolio. Our team has tirelessly, there you go, combine them, and delicately nurtured and developed this beer for over a decade to ensure that its drinkers know how much we appreciate them. To mark the occasion of Alexandr's 10th anniversary, we've created a special single edition take on this modern Czech-style Pilsner. We are pleased to introduce the 10th anniversary edition of Alexandr, an unfiltered rendition of our standard bearing beer, brewed with whole leaf sterling hops and spunded for natural carbonation. This beer embodies everything that we love in Alexandr with a unique, unfiltered, rounded hop character. So, sounds quite delicious, and I'm going to pour it into this dimpled mug, and we're going to give it a go. Also, shout out to a very good friend of mine, Chris, over at Brewed and Bottled, my favorite local bottle shop, because he held on to a can of this for me, which I truly do appreciate, Chris. Pretty awesome. I mean, it is a lager. I don't know if it would have sold out or whatnot, but the fact that he would even offer to do such a thing is pretty fantastic. So I went back and looked at that Alexandr review that I did, and I will tell you that it was crystal clear, and this one being unfiltered is not going to be crystal clear. So how does this look? It looks beautiful. It has that, that kind of like honey yellow color, we'll say. Now, I'm going to do something that a very good friend of mine, a viewer of the channel, Green Sombrero, mentioned. He said when, they got the stemless bottom, when you use the contraband flashlight, hold it up like this. So that's what we're going to do. And that's how the beer looks when I do it like that, okay? Yeah, I mean, honestly, on camera, it looks slightly darker than it is in person. Hold up to light, I think that's more of a true representation of this beer. It has great carbonation. It is definitely going nuts. I didn't pour it aggressively, so I got a pretty terrible head on here. I would have loved to have like a 1.5 finger, 2-finger head, but it is what it is. It still looks really nice in the glass. And again, it's unfiltered. You hold it up to the light. Yeah, it has a murkiness to it, but it's not like, super crazy and hazy. It just has a nice unfiltered look. You can see very fine particulates. The head was about, I'd say, 1/2 finger of a bright white. It looks like a creamy, actually. The head looks very creamy. So anyway, let's get into it. Oh, wow, that is... Wow. Okay, so definitely more of a hop kick from this one than I remember with Alexandr. Alexandr was just a great Czech-style Pilsner. It had, the grainy Pilsner malt you expect from it, nice crackery kind of Pilsner malt. Then on top of that, it had like nice zesty lemon, and it had this like floral kind of, I would say more of like a spicy floralness on the finish with the hops. This one, it has that spicy floral kind of kick, but it's also like has a grassiness to it. The lemons there, I would say maybe even a little bit more of a citrus blast, maybe even a touch of like an orange or like a tangerine, like a pith. A touch of like a red apple or like a white pear, definitely like a lighter white fruit. I'd say more like a pear, very slight. Has that slight sulfuric kind of lager funk that you get with a lot of these. It just smells very bright in the nose though. It's hard to explain. It's making my mouth water. I have to keep on sucking down the saliva because it's making my mouth water because it smells so delicious. Oh man, it's very bright. It has a bright, intense nose to it, but still somewhat restrained, if that makes any sense. Anyway, let's get into it. Congratulations to Schilling on 10 years of brewing this epic beer. Cheers. Na zdrowie. That is absolutely fucking delicious. I do think if I would go back and re-review Alexandr, it would definitely be in the 4 or 5 range. That I'm coming to learn, like, obviously Schilling, I've been reviewing the beers now, for over 3 years, but they really don't miss. I have not had a bad beer from Schilling at all. Have I had some that I like more than others? Sure. But this is just a more well-rounded, kind of vibrant offering compared to Alexandr. Kind of two different beers to some degree. Like, it has the soul of Alexandr, don't get me wrong, but there's a little bit more of a hop character, like they said in the Instagram post. A little bit more of like a bitterness on the back of the palate too. Plus, I'm drinking this 3.5 weeks old compared to just under 5 months old when I reviewed Alexandr. Body's nice, medium. Beautiful for 5% Czech-style Pilsner. The mouthfeel, it's extremely effervescent. This is a crispy boy. It's very crisp. It's super clean on the palate. There's a nice smoothness going down on the back of the palate. Although it's not that smooth because there is a lot of carbonation, prickly carbonation across the palate. So it doesn't smooth out as much as I say a lot on the second half of the palate, or like when you swallow. It's more of across the palate, very crisp. It's a crispy boy for sure, but very clean. The taste, the nose carried over, very akin to the base Alexandr. To me, it's a lot of crackery, and in this one, I'm getting more of like a slightly like white bread, almost like a very slightly toasted white bread, but crackery, kind of white bread character, omnipresent throughout. And then I get hit with that zesty lemon, maybe a little orange. We'll just say like a zesty, pithy kind of citrus, maybe even like more of a citrus peel than anything. Midway through the palate, that white pear hits more than anything, and it's more of like the skin of a white pear. Then on the finish, floral, spicy, grassiness. Those three characteristics specifically finishes pretty dry, firmly dry, with a mild to moderate bitterness, but I'd say it's more approaching moderate than anything. This seems a little bit drier than the base Alexandr and a little bit more bitter. So for my palate, if you've been following the channel, especially over like the last 3-4 months, I am craving the dryness and the bitterness, and this is hitting for me in spades, honestly. This is perfect for what I want. And I'm trying not to get lost in the hype here of this being, their 10th anniversary Alexandr, a special beer. On Untapped, it gets like a 4 point, almost like a 4.4. I haven't checked, but when I picked it up, I think it was like a 4.4, somewhere around there. So it might be a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but it's definitely in that range for me. Like I said, if I re-reviewed the base Alexandr, that's definitely a 4.5, maybe like a 4.4 to 4.5 beer. This is slightly better to what I remember, but keep in mind, that beer was just under 5 months old. This is 3.5 weeks old, and my palate's in a completely different place than it was just over 3 years ago. One more sip. Glass lacing's looking pretty awesome as well. Get my stupid face out of the way. Or maybe like that. I don't know. There you go. Beautiful glass lacing. Anyway, I'm going to pour the rest in here and try to formulate a score. I am going to base this off of the fact that I do think if I re-reviewed Alexandr, it'd be a higher score because this is definitely better than the 4.15 I gave Alexandr. But I also think I'm enjoying this more than the regular Alexandr. But if I did a side-by-side comparison, that would have been probably a true way to see the difference between these two beers. This is delicious to me, though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very simplistic with it and give this a beer score that I can live with and that I'm happy with. So fantastic job by Schilling. If you can get your hands on Schilling, grab this one. So the 10th anniversary Alexandr from Schilling, I am going to give this a very firm 4.5 out of 5. This is delicious. Curtis, viewer of the channel, if you see any Schilling stuff near you, or you place an order again at Halftime Beverage and they have this one, even at a couple months old, this would be awesome. They do, as I speak, I have to hit up Curtis because they do have $100, free shipping over $100 for everybody, I believe, at this point. So definitely check out Halftime Beverage. I don't know if they got their hands on this one though. That's the problem. Damn it. Anyway, this is tasty. Availability, price point, whole thing. Price point, I don't remember what I paid for this one. Chris held it for me. I definitely bought it. I don't remember. Usually I have the the Square Up or whatever the service that Chris uses, and a lot of places use nowadays. It just lists like all of the beers, but like one price. I would say I probably paid somewhere around like $4 to $5 for this. The regular Alexandr, I think, is $12 or $13. In my area, it's like $15 to $16. I'd imagine this is like $16 to $18. At the brewery, probably in that $16 to $18 round, maybe in a distro, maybe 18 to 20. I know that sounds expensive for a 4-pack of a 5% Czech-style Pilsner, but Schilling is quality through and through. It's one of the few breweries that if I can get here locally, I don't mind paying $4 to $5 for a can of something like this because it's absolute deliciousness. So it'll, your mileage may vary on this one, but it's probably going to be, I'd say $3 to $4 more a 4-pack compared to the regular Alexandr. And availability at Schilling, check out their website. I think they have a beer finder. They're typically in like the more of like the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, a little bit into the Midwest. I don't know exactly where they get. On their label, they just have deposits in Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, Michigan. That doesn't necessarily mean they're in every single one of those states, but I do think they get into Michigan now. So if you're in Michigan and you see this one, give it a go. But then again, this is a special release, so I don't know how far out distro will make it. Anyway, long review, 5%, you can't tell with a beer like this. Like I said, incredibly clean. That sulfuric kind of nose really didn't carry over into the taste. Maybe a little bit of like that lager funk going on, just slight. But I mean, this is just a delicious beer. It's so refreshing too and crushable, despite being incredibly flavorful. I would tell anybody who is like a macro drinker, if you like your 5% macro lagers, try something out like this. I don't think this is going to blow out anybody's palate that isn't a craft beer drinker, but you'll see where the more flavor comes from while remaining incredibly drinkable. That's what this beer is in a nutshell. So if you've had this one before or the base Alexandr, if you've had both, which one do you prefer? I've seen some of my friends on Untappd say that they don't enjoy this one as much as the base, and then I've seen others that say it's way better than the base. I think it's a little bit better than the base, but again, my memory, I look back at that review and I enjoyed it. I give 4.15. I think that would be more like a 4.4 to a 4.5. So this is slightly better, but they're both delicious beers. You can't lose with either one. So anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers. Nazdrova. Nazdrovia. I can't speak anything, let alone a different language other than English. ASMR. Cheers.